Hello and welcome to On the Table. We are delighted to be broadcasting on RTM Click and MyTV's Berita RTM channel 123, which is also live streaming on YouTube. I'm your host, Brendan Lepol. Thank you for joining us once again. Now, tourism has always been a cornerstone of Malaysia's economy, celebrated for its cultural diversity, natural beauty and historic landmarks. Now, the Visit Malaysia 2026 initiative aims to position the nation as a global tourism hotspot, with a target to welcome 35 million tourists and generate 147.1 billion ringgit in tourism receipts. Now, joining us today to discuss on this exciting year ahead, our strategy, goals and challenges, we bring to the studio the Director General of Tourism Malaysia, Dato' Manoharan Periasamy. Dato', welcome to the show, Dato'.
Thank you. Thank you for having me in these shows.
A very exciting topic to be talking about today, tourism Malaysia and how strategies, how do we move forward, so on and so forth. Now, let's start with the first question, Dato'. Can you actually tell us, with a general overview of the current state of tourism in Malaysia beyond tourist arrivals, where do you see the momentum in terms of overall activities that we as a nation have for our beloved tourists? And have we completely recovered from the COVID pandemic, Dato'?
Okay. Thank you, Brendan. Basically, we like to use the word of a rebound.
Rebound, yeah.
Rebound, because the benchmark's always 2019, because that was the highest number of tourists we received just before the whole global being shut down. So 2019 is always a benchmark. Looking at it, compare with the 2019s and 2024. The tourism industry very resilient and recovered. If I were to say, almost more than 98 or 99% of the industry have recovered, either in terms of the tourist arrival or in terms of accessibility. So the both elements has given us a very good positive growth in the case of Malaysia. We are looking at the industry as a whole in terms of the hotel bookings has shown a very good growth, and the domestic events at the same time. And those are the international sporting events or concert and all those things that start to come back to Malaysia. So we see this as a very positive element, whereby the whole industry already have come back to their confidence level, saying that Malaysia is a destination whereby we are moving towards for another phase, with our Visit Malaysia 2026. So that's why the government also has confidence, saying that we can launch it. It's not anything to do with the COVID 2019, but basically we want to showcase Malaysia as a preferred holiday destination for the entire world globally.
I totally love what you just mentioned, Dato', in terms of building trust and confidence in the first place, instead of saying, okay, we are back to its original position. But what is the original position if we are talking about confidence and also trust, Dato'? Now, have we met the target for this year, for last year, of 27 million arrival back then in 2024, Dato'?
Okay. Looking at it, as I mentioned to you, in terms of the recovery period or the recovery stage within the accessibilities and arrivals. For 2024, we have achieved 38 million visitors.
Wow.
Yeah. We overshoot the entire target that we have planned for 2024. So with that, the government have come back with that. We need to revive, we need to revise our target, which is initial targets around 35.6 million tourists with the 167 billion in terms of receipt. But what we have achieved in 2024 is remarkable. This is showing that everybody working towards as a national agenda to put Malaysia's back in their tourist map. So that's really working. I mean, I'm not only talking about MOTEC as a ministry, which is responsible for the promotion of the tourism activities, either domestically or overseas. The entire machineries of the government also have worked together with us, working towards how do we want to put it back Malaysia as a preferred holiday destinations. We must remember, in terms of the tourism industry, This is the entire global change.
Yes.
You know, we are not only talking about the hotels, we are talking about the resort, we are talking about the restaurants,
Yes.
we are talking about the shopping complexes, we are talking about the transport systems.
Correct.
So everybody going to benefit once the country is moving towards making Malaysia as a resilience, making Malaysia as a preferred holiday destinations, either domestically or internationally. When people start to come, when people start to spend, everybody enjoying the benefit of the tourism industry. So looking at it, the ministry have decided we need to revise our targets. Initial target was 35.6 million. So we need to revise. Maybe we are looking at it between 40 to 45 million for coming 2026. And maybe the receipt we are looking at is around 270 billion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. So, talking about how it's actually positive figures from 24 million, 27 million from 2024. So this momentum, I would definitely say it's a healthy momentum, and it's definitely going to catapult this year, or rather next year for 2026, to even go further. And as you just mentioned, let's talk about its momentum. So in terms of like adjusting or revising the plan of having probably about 40 million tourists and a great number in receipts, so next year is going to be a really big year for Malaysia?
Yes, correct. Yeah. Next year, yes, as we have mentioned, we have launched our Visit Malaysia campaign. It is launched by the PMX himself, and we have make it, and the PMX himself have said it, that this is a national agenda. It's not promoting Malaysia is not a property of a MOTEC alone, but we need to work together with the various ministry. Particularly in our case, Ministry of Transports, Ministry of Digital, of Communications. We have a Ministry of which is responsible for the community-based tourism and so on. So everyone need to be chipped in. Everyone want to work together with the MOTEC. Otherwise, we won't be able to achieve the targets.
Exactly. Yes.
So the national agenda is becoming a turning point in making tourism industry as one of the main industry which will going to contribute to the GDP of the nations.
Yes, that's right. So Visit Malaysia year next year, which is 2026, a big year that we're going to celebrate. Now, we have set the momentum going since 2023. And what are we talking about? So we're talking about in terms of like funding promotional activities. So last year itself, a budget of 550 million ringgit was announced. And it's for marketing purposes and for promotions as well through budget 2025. Definitely, with a year left, which is next year, what is it going to be, when it comes to our focus?
Okay. Basically, when the government announced on the previous budgets, they're going to allocate 550 million for the tourism promotion activity. There's various activities involved, including some of the grant that we are going to work together with the carrier, national carrier or foreign carriers, airlines. We are working with the other partner, other stakeholders in the industry, like a travel agents, with the locally or foreign agents, whereby we are working together. First of all, we want to make sure that more accessibility. There are three key points when we want to looking at it. Want to put Malaysia's back in the tourism maps. One, to increase the accessibility. When anybody choosing a holiday as an holiday, they would like to prefer to travel directly to the destination rather than going via where they're wasting a lot of hours transit and so on.
That's right.
So that's become our main priority. So to increase the accessibility to the country. So on that, we are working with all our national carriers based here and also foreign airlines to increase either the frequency directly to Kuala Lumpur or any other destination within Malaysia, and secondly to increase as well the flights from the lesser known destinations, particularly like in China, the tier 2 and tier 3 city. The populations in each cities maybe more than what the entire Malaysian populations. But in terms of urge for them to travel and they don't have a direct connectivity. So what we are doing there, we are working with the carriers based in those countries to study off the flights from those cities directly to Kuala Lumpur, Penang, any our international destination. That's number one, to increase. And secondly, we are also looking at it, how to encourage them to to stay longer.
Right.
You know, it's not a destination touch and go. You know, in the early days, yes, Malaysia has always been combined with our neighboring countries.
Yeah.
You know, they call it Singma Thai, Singapore Malaysia Thai, or Thai Malaysia Singapore, and so on. What we are planning is that what we are already working towards, working with the operators to make it Malaysia as a mono destination. In Malaysia, it's much more to see. It's not a 3-nighter destination. Yeah, you can stay in Malaysia for more than a week, and you can explore, you can enjoy the kind of foods and enjoy the lifestyles of Malaysia and all other things that you can see here and enjoy in Malaysia. So that's become our another objective. And thirdly, we are looking at a high yield tourists. So we are looking at it, we want them to spend more.
Right.
You know, every time the tourists spending here is benefiting to the country. So these are the 3 main objectives we are looking at it. And we are working with the markets. You know, we are working with the country. How do we want to prioritize those segments? We have primary markets, we have a secondary market. We also having emerging markets.
Now, Dato', you just mentioned about food, right? Staying here in Malaysia, I think we need longer than a week to actually, you know, enjoy all those kind of food that we have here in the country. Now, on a serious note, from a competitive edge, let's talk about the highlights, Dato', and the focus of our VMY 2026, which is in short, Visit Malaysia Year 2026, Malaysia Truly Asia. Are there any particular attraction that we're actually having a look, or probably even a theme that we're going to emphasize? We have nature, we have culture, we have the beaches, you know, all of these wonderful attractions here in the country. What about other attractions that probably the ministry and you are also having a look into?
As I mentioned to you with regards to the sustainable tourism, it's one of the areas we are looking at it. We want to ensure that the destinations is not overcrowded. You know, it's like what we in the tourism industry we call over-tourism. You know, we have seen it happen in our neighboring countries. We doesn't want to go through that pace. So as a government, we are looking at our national tourism policy, which we have done it from 2020 to 2030. We have the entire plans, you know, to looking at it, the sustainable tourism. We have a reach in the flora and fauna, adventure, and so on. You know, so to ensure that this kind of tourism industry or this kind of a tourism product will be sustained for a longer period. We want the next generation also to enjoy this type of product. So that's become our main key in terms of the Visit Malaysia campaign. We wanted to promote lesser known destinations. What we realized that after the pandemic, people doesn't want to go to the normal destination where it's overcrowded with people and so on, you know. And the patterns or the psychics of the tourists, they also like to travel in a smaller group. You know? So they want to go the less beaten destinations and so on. This is not only with the foreign tourists, our domestic as well. The Malaysians, they themselves also. We are educating them. We want to tell them, you know, there's so much more to place to visit in Malaysia. Forget our neighboring country, you know. Of course, there's issues always every long weekends, you know, the long traffics towards our neighboring country and so on, you know. But we are telling them at the same time, you know, look at it. There are so many other things you can do in Malaysia, so you can see and you can enjoy with the family. So those are the things that we are working with the other stakeholder, for instance, the state government. We want to make sure that the infra in those places have been educated enough, and as well enough publicities, enough informations of those places, and amenities of those area. Because once during the long weekends or long holidays, always been crowded in those places. So we are working with the entire stakeholders to ensure that these are the destinations we want to offer to the Malaysian as well to the foreign tourists. And the second one about CBT, we call it community-based tourism. I mean, I don't know how much you have visited some of the places, and I myself was so very amazed with those kind of community-based tourism, particularly if you are looking at it in Sabah and Sarawak. You know, those community-based tourism, amazed to see that. You know, and this is which has been developed by the people locally in that area. You know, so you really can enjoy. You go there, you forget about your shopping malls, you forget about all this modern kind of amenities, but you and the families, we can enjoy a good holidays there. You know, so the communities-based tourism is another area we are looking at it, whereby product like a homestay, we are promoting very aggressively, working with a different ministry who's in charge to developing on the rural development area and so on. So these are the
some of the
agendas under the MOTEX, to work together with the other ministry to ensure that Malaysia has so many varieties in terms of product, in terms of destination to offer, not only for the foreign tourists as well for the Malaysians to go and enjoy the holidays.
So it sounds like an exciting year ahead already, and I can't wait for 2026. It only has been about how many weeks in 2025, but definitely sounds like an exciting year that's ahead. Now, Dato', we're going to go for a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to continue talking about the breakdown in terms of like tourist profile, which country and region that will be the focus. That question will be answered right up next, but we're going to go for a break. Be right back.
In 2025, Malaysia proudly leads the ASEAN community into a new era of unity, growth, and opportunity. Together with 10 Southeast Asian nations, Malaysia is driving progress in trade, innovation, sustainability, and tourism. Explore the best of Malaysia, from its stunning landscapes to its rich cultural heritage. Be part of global events, business summits, and exciting festivals throughout the year. Join us in 2025. Discover new connections, celebrate unity, and experience the future of Southeast Asia. ASEAN Malaysia 2025. Together, we rise.
And welcome back to On the Table with your host, Brenda Paul. And together with me in the studio, we've got Dato' Manoharan, who is the Director General of Tourism Malaysia. And coming back to some of the questions, Dato', Visit Malaysia 2026 is targeting to attract 35.6 million tourists and generate 147.1 billion ringgit in revenue. And you mentioned earlier on the program that the target could actually exceed, and that's the plan, that it's in line. But can you actually tell us and give us a breakdown in terms of like tourist profile? Which country and region will be our focus altogether?
Okay, currently we are looking at it, we have divided the market, the globals, in a few areas. First, we are looking at a focus market and secondary markets, and of course the emerging markets. The focus market, China, India, Indonesia, and all those things, it's become our main focus market. Since the government have implement these liberalizations of a visa, we have seen potential growth from China and India. Both countries have contributed almost more than 50% of the total arrival from globally. 50%
of total arrival.
We are looking at it, yes, the other market like Singapore is traditionally is our neighboring countries, the arrival from ASEAN, almost 60 to 70% of that. And these both nations, since we lifted up the visa requirements for those countries, first we have seen that in terms of the accessibility. The number of flights operating directly from China and India has growth tremendously. And there's a number of tourists, because it's become a short regions, like a short haul destination for them. Within 4 hours or within 4.5 hours or 5 hours, they can just reach in Malaysia.
That's right.
For them, so traveling from north to south may be much more costlier than coming to Malaysia.
That's right.
So that's become an advantage for us. And we have to thank to the government, because the foresight of them saying that, yes, these are the destinations and these are the country become our main source market to us. Traditionally, yes, some of our ASEAN markets, we are never going to what they call it, ignore our traditional market, like Singapore, Thailand, Philippines, and so on. Those are the market which, whether you can reach here by land and by air. And by sea as well, the ferry services available, particularly with the Indonesian market and so on. The emerging markets, we have a destination like Bangladesh. Yes, we have issues in Bangladesh, but in terms of the spending, we are looking at it, some of the corporate movement from Bangladesh, a lot of factories which has been operating out of Bangladesh. So incentive movements from those markets showing a very remarkable kind of patterns whereby they're coming here, staying in a 4-star, minimum 4-star and 5-star hotels, which is all paid for. So in terms of the revenue, in terms of spending, it's much more. We are looking at the business travelers or the corporate incentive travelers compared to the leisure. Leisure, you have to pay on your own, whereas when the company is paying for you, so you have more money for spending and so on, the shoppings and plan. And again, Middle East market, the GCC countries, again, we are looking very seriously in terms of the accessibility. We have a good connections with the entire GCC country. We just have to enhance it, our presence in those markets, working with the airlines as well, with the industry players, to ensure that Malaysia is back to their preferred holiday destinations. If you're looking at it, remember top of mind destinations, not the other country, but Malaysia, because we do have Muslim-friendly, Sharia compliance, and so on. So this become our added value for us to promote Malaysia as a holiday destination in a GCC country.
It caters holistically, not just for a specific target market or target audience, but as a whole altogether. Now, Dato', you mentioned about ASEAN. As Malaysia assumed the role of the chairman of ASEAN this year, what opportunities does the ASEAN chairmanship provide for promoting Malaysia as a tourist destination?
For the first time, we have an opportunity to host ASEAN championships, and in January, we have hosted ATF, we call it ASEAN Travel Forum, and the main element in the ASEAN Travel Forum is TRAVEX, the travel exchange, exchange, whereby we hosted more than 500 buyers globally, which this event been taken place in Johor Bahru in middle of January, and we have hosted 500 buyers and more than 100 media. We hosted that. It is an excellent opportunity to showcase Malaysia as a holiday destination, and to the various media and various buyers who came here to get the engagement with our local hoteliers, local agents and local product owner and so on. So that started off the entire 2025. And we also taken the opportunity by holding this TRAVEX. We also launched our Visit Malaysia campaign to the foreigners who are here. All the industry players are there. It's a good opportunity for us.
It's a fantastic opportunity. So let's talk about supporting the vision. You just mentioned, we want to increase the flow, intra-ASEAN exchanges among ASEAN member states. Are there ASEAN-related initiatives, taking into account the regions of over 600 million population?
But I mean, looking at the ASEAN, it's nothing new that we haven't done anything with the ASEAN. We have, for instance, IMGT, Indonesian Malaysian Growth Triangles. We have BIAM Niaga within Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia. We also have the border tourism with Thailand. As a matter of fact, late last year we have launched. What do we call it, between Thailand and Malaysia, is self-drive. Self-drive campaign, where we have, obviously, more people are driving to Thailand. But nevertheless, we had this kind of opportunity to work among the ASEAN countries, to promote ASEAN as a destination. What is happening in Europe, Like you go to Europe, you can visit easily any of those European nations with the connectivity and so on. So this will become main objective for us. When we are talking about ASEAN, we want to promote as ASEAN as a holiday destination to among the long-haul market. So that's already work in the progress with the connectivities, accessibility, and so on. For instance, airlines, they are connected. I mean, almost most of the ASEAN countries are having the connectivity either from Kuala Lumpur or from Singapore or from Indonesia and so on. So that's become our plus point, whereby we are working together with SNNTO as a National Tourism Office, whether we are working from head office or in the overseas country where we have the branches there, working together to promote ASEAN as a holiday destinations to the foreigners.
Dato', you mentioned previously earlier on the show about connecting countries to Malaysia in terms of like not giving them, longer waiting hour to connecting flights to come to Malaysia. GSPC, which is the Charter Flight Matching Grant. Now, this initiative definitely will help to increase air connectivity with the new markets, right? But is there like a target that we're looking at, Dato'?
Target, yes, when we work with the airlines, obviously, airlines always come back and tell us all those formula, but we are very clear about it. So when we are working with the airlines or any operators, it's a number, because the carrying capacities from all over the world to Malaysia, we have almost more than 4 million seats, so that's an opportunity for us to work with to increase the accessibility, to increase, to fill it up, all the vacant seats, Obviously, Malaysia also in a source market. Many Malaysians also traveling abroad. Malaysia has become a source market to Korea, to Japan, and so forth. But we wanted to ensure that we have a balanced kind of campaign. Airlines cannot sustain one-way traffic, so they have the both way. We must understand that whenever airlines are starting operating, make sure the traffic from both countries is there. So from our side, we will emphasize more inbound to Malaysia. So under the GSPCs, we work wonderfully. We work very efficiently with all the airlines which has worked with us, and this has become one of the elements whereby to enhance it, our promotional activities through working directly with the airlines. When we are working directly with the airlines, this is where B2C, the airlines can offer directly to the consumer. These are the preferred seats, some kind of discounted seats, particularly on the off-season, not the entire 12 months, the airlines can fill it up, their aircraft. So during the off-season, we work with the airlines, tell them, why not offer very attractive packages, not only the seats fare as well, the ticket fare, as well the destinations. Most of the airlines already having the holiday component. So they can clump in, they can just package it up and selling as seats to the consumers.
As you mentioned, it's just not the Ministry of Tourism, it's the whole agencies and bodies involved in realizing Visit Malaysia 2026. It's just not one single entity. Now, coming back to the campaign, and which is basically the context of ASEAN theme, which is 2025 Inclusivity and Sustainability, how will the Visit Malaysia 2026 campaign promote sustainable tourism practices in the country? Okay.
For that, we will work with the entire stakeholders, because as a Tourism Malaysia, our main role is to promote Malaysia as a holiday destination. So we need work together with other stakeholders. In this case, our state government, NGOs, the product owners. We are telling them, how to package it up, how to develop certain product. Make sure those products, when it's appeal, not all the products appeal to everyone. For long-haul markets, we know more matured market, they prefer to go to the adventure, more to the nature-based kind of product. Whereas people from China and India, they prefer to come to see the modernities, entertainment, shopping element, and so on. So in that case, we have various products, various packages we develop. In terms of sustainable, in terms of inclusiveness and all those things, we work with the stakeholders, ensure that the products being offered to the right market with the right offering. So that's, we have to be very careful in terms of, we doesn't, as I mentioned to you, we doesn't want the over-tourism and so on. We're already facing in some of the places in East Coast, for instance, rubbish being thrown all over places and so on. So we are educating. We are not only educating, of course, we need to educating the consumer, educating the tourists, make sure, you don't throw the rubbish everywhere and all those things. But at the same time, we are also educating the product owner, the state government, come on board. How do we can work together to maintain those the destinations, so that it has been appeal not only now but generations to come, for them to come and enjoy the serenity of the beaches, the crystal clear waters and the natures, the forests and so on.
And also clean Malaysia, that's our main focus. Now, Dato', thank you so much for being on the show. Unfortunately, we have ran out of time, and that's all that we have right here on the table. Thank you so much, Dato', for being here with us on the show.
Thank you to having me here.
That's all we have for you on the show. Unfortunately, the time on this edition of On the Table this evening. So we've been speaking to Dato' Manoharan Periasamy, Director General Tourism Malaysia. Now, a repeat of this episode's broadcast can be viewed again at the same time tomorrow and subsequent days on both RTM Click and MyTV's Berita RTM channel, as well as Berita RTM YouTube channel. Till next Thursday, where we'll discuss another topic of interest, I'm Brendan Lepal signing off. Take care.